Hi, I'm Perry Atkinson, General Manager here at theDove. Hey, check out our other videos and check out our website at thedove.us. Okay, we're back. John Mittendorf's with us, and we're continuing on with our series, Global Warming, Climate Change, which has been an interesting debate worldwide, and certainly as it comes into this election cycle. But before we go there, coming up this weekend is the release of the movie Noah, put out by Paramount Pictures. They have been noted to spend up to $300 million making this movie, and it comes out of the chutes with great controversy. A lot of people on the Christian side say, don't go see it because it's not biblically accurate. A lot of people on the Christian side saying, go see it because it does create a lot of discussion. And after all, it is Hollywood's attempt to try to win us into some kind of alliance. And the NRB was able to negotiate, John, at the beginning of that movie, the disclaimer that basically says,
well, the movie was based on the Bible.
Right. It basically said it's inspired. The movie is inspired by the biblical story Noah, which leaves opening for the fact that it's not totally accurate. Either way, it comes out this weekend, and even the Mail Tribune had quite an article on it. So you are going to go see it for us.
You and I discussed doing a special program on that next week, and so I volunteered only for scientific purposes, mind you.
Yeah, I'm sure, right, to go see it.
Jan and I are going to go watch it this weekend, and then we're going to do a special program on it Tuesday morning.
All right, look, we know that Hollywood's not going to be 100% biblically accurate. Ray Comfort was very upset with the premiere showing. He got up and walked out and went out and decided to make his own movie about Noah.
Which he did.
Which is fine. But if it does anything but create interest in the story, the biblical story of Noah, and sticks people's nose back in the Bible to read it, I think it's a good thing.
Yep, and it might do that. We were talking before the show this morning, and I mentioned that both Institution of Creation Research and Answers in Genesis normally have a booth at the National Education Association's annual conference, which is a big deal.
The NEA, yeah.
Which is not biblically based, by the way. No. So the top question that is usually put to those booths are, you can't believe the flood, you don't believe Noah's Ark, everything's centered around the flood, you can't really believe that all the animals got on the ark and then God saved mankind out of the ark. You can't believe that. And so I think one of the things we'll talk about next week is not only the movie, but maybe some scientific information on the ark, because this is going to come up from people that their neighbors, it's a great witnessing tool. Did you see the movie? What did you think of the movie?
No, yeah.
What do you think about the scientific evidence for a flood? What do you think about the scientific evidence for the ark? And if you have a basic understanding of the flood, the ark, and how it was done and the scientific evidence behind that, it can become a very good witnessing tool.
Well, you and I have touched all the way around this from various shows past, even to the strata layers inside the Grand Canyon and such. So John's going to go watch it.
Scientific purposes only, remember that.
Oh, yeah,
remember
right.
That.
Go ahead and enjoy it. Actually, I saw a lot of the trailers and the outcuts from the movie when we were at the NRB, and I want to tell you, this thing, production value-wise, is top drawer. It is very well produced. They made 2 arcs when they were doing this. One was about a third built, the other one a little bit larger when they were doing the movie Noah. Yes, it's not biblically accurate in some areas. There's no question about it. It's Hollywood trying to be Hollywood. And the production value. But I do think it does one thing. It does produce conversation about the story of Noah. Now, here's a question I want to ask all of those who watch and listen to theDove TV. Can you defend the biblical account of Noah? Can you defend it? And so what John's going to do is go watch this, come back, use that as a springboard to defend the subject of Noah in the Bible, and to go into the scientific part of it, and how did the earth erupt into all of this water and all of that. I'll save that for later.
Okay, we'll save that, yeah. So,
right.
And by the way, we're going to do that on Tuesday at 8:30.
All right. Now, folks, let me also encourage you to, because in the movie of Noah put out by Paramount, there is a little global warming in there.
Yes, there is.
And so it does get touched on. Which is the big topic of the day, global warming versus climate change. By the way, Hillary Clinton came out over the weekend and has decided that climate change, not global warming. Now, global warming was the big thing. They've had to move it over and change all of that to climate change to make it a little bit more acceptable, because after all, we came through some of the coldest winters in the U.S. history,
right.
Highest snowfalls in U.S. history.
And they're still getting snow.
And they're still getting snow, and they're blaming that on global warming, but actually now they're blaming it on climate change. So Hillary Clinton decides that this should be a global political movement for young people. Well, there you go. There's the perfect way to get a lot of people on board to vote for you coming up in 2016. So, John, you dove into this and help us.
You know, out of all the subjects that I've studied for, this one, I think, even eclipses the evolution-creation debate as far as something that is politically and media charged.
Right.
And you can find very, very good people on both sides of the equation on this. And I want to read just a couple that I found very interesting. According to Senator James Inhofe, America's major media have predicted an impending global climate crisis 4 different times over the past 100 years and have alternated between global warming and climate change, wiping out entire countries and billions would die. Mm-hmm. Similar to Al Gore's 2006 movie, Inconvenient Truth. Is similar. And then this one I found very interesting. Senator Harry Reid, leader of the Senate, since 2008, has found that, and by the way, I'm going to use global warming as the umbrella for our discussion, because there are some similarities between that and climate change.
But global warming is the one that really gets all the attention.
Exactly right, and that's basically where it started out. Is a Senate leader has not found very much worth to global warming until recently. In fact, in 2010, he squelched his party's efforts to pass a climate change bill.
Wow.
However, March 10th, just a couple of weeks ago, he suddenly found it politically expedient to initiate a 15-hour overnight talkathon on global warming, and this is what he said. Climate change is real, it's here, and it's time to stop acting as if those who ignore it have a valid point of view, because they don't. So all of a sudden, global warming is a big deal. It's actually going to be one of the major platforms of the Democratic Party 2016.
No question about it.
And then on the other side of the coin, interesting, Dr. Patrick Moore, co-founder of Greenpeace, recently testified before the U.S. Senate. And by the way, he has backed away from Greenpeace now because of what I'm going to say here. This is what he said to the U.S. Senate. There is no scientific proof that human emissions of carbon dioxide are the dominant cause of the warming of the Earth's atmosphere over the past 100 years.
Okay.
So you can find people on either side, but if you listen to the media, if you listen to the news, if you watch television, if you read the Tribune, as an example, all the newspapers, it's going to be carbon dioxide, carbon dioxide, carbon dioxide, global warming ad infinitum.
All right, which is now slowly being changed to climate change.
Slowly being changed to climate change, right.
For the means of discussion and argument.
Right. Now last week, we started off, our last program, I should say, we started off, and I said I wanted to start with a biblical perspective on this, because I think everything grows out of that. And I want to go back and revisit that, because we talked about briefly that in the 1st and 2nd chapter of Genesis, it's very, very clear that in God's hierarchy, man is number 1 and the earth is number 2. In fact, in Genesis 1 and 2, it clearly says that God created man, Adam and Eve, and put them on this earth to rule over it and to till it, which means to use it for your benefit. Now, that doesn't mean that we're supposed to go out and just wantonly destroy the earth. No. But if you look at God's hierarchy of importance, man comes first, earth comes second. So I think we can say then, as a result of that, we have a direct responsibility from God to care for what we've been entrusted with. And the question is, are we doing that? You know, are we doing that? But something else that I started to think about is that a common theme in environmentalism, and I found this in several places, and I'm quoting here, the best environment is one that is untouched by human hands. Have you ever heard that one before? Yeah, yes you have. But that's not what's delineated in Genesis 1 and 2. And so I want to just briefly, before we continue, consider Romans 1:25 that states, who exchanged the truth of God for the lie and worshiped and served the creature rather than the Creator. And that's called pantheism. In other words, what we've done is we've taken the earth and we've put it down into the number 2 spot. Excuse me, we've taken man and we've put man into the number 2 spot, and we've taken the earth and put earth up into the number 1 spot.
Have you ever heard the term Mother Earth?
Mother
All
Earth.
right, we'll take a quick break. We'll be right back, and we'll wrap this up, the discussion between global warming and climate change with John Mittendorf in just a moment. Okay, we're back with John Mittendorf. By the way, today's notes are available. We have them here at theDove. They are beautifully put together, and you're welcome to come by and get a copy. They'll also be on our website. You can download them there. And where else, John?
My email too, which is hispeoplerejoice@gmail.com.
Hispeoplerejoice, one word, hispeoplerejoice@gmail.com.
Also, real quick, Perry, out of all the material that I study, and there's a lot of it that's available out there, people that are really interested in this subject, the best source that I have found that I think covers everything from 3 perspectives: the biblical perspective, the scientific perspective, and the environmentalist perspective, is the DVD Global Warming, which you can get from Answers in Genesis, and that's Global Warming, which features numerous renowned PhDs on the subject. It is, and they cover all, they give equal time to all 3 viewpoints.
Right.
It is excellent.
All right.
No, excuse me, it is outstanding.
Okay. All right. All right, we're going to run out of time. Go for it, John.
Okay, let's go for it. Let's just do a real quick review, Perry, and then get into the big question: is man causing global warming? Last time we talked about, is global warming really taking place? Yes, it is. The temperature has increased since about 1880, 1.2 degrees Fahrenheit. So just keep that in mind. Greenhouse gases are responsible for life on this earth. That is a true statement. However, the 4 greenhouse gases are water vapor, carbon dioxide, methane, and ozone. Out of those 4, water vapor is the primary greenhouse gas. That's 95% of the greenhouse gases. So right off the bat, you can see that carbon dioxide is a minor, very minor gas. It's less than 5%. Global warming will drive many plants and animals to extinction. There is no scientific evidence of that. The oceans will dramatically rise during the next century. And Al Gore in his movie said, oh boy, they're going to raise 20 feet and all this calamity is going to happen, and there's no scientific evidence to support that. In fact, the UN Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, which is IPCC, it's easier for me to pronounce, they back global warming 100%, has said that they expect in the next century the oceans might rise 12 to 16 inches. So that's not the calamity that Al Gore predicted by a long shot. Weather catastrophes will increase due to global warming. You know, it's interesting, in Genesis 8:22, this is what it states, and this is right after the flood when Noah walked off the ark. This is what God told him. While the earth remains, this is Genesis 8:22, seed time and harvest, cold and heat, winter and summer, and day and night shall not cease. At the flood, and we can talk more about this next week, the climatology of the universe, of this planet, dramatically changed. And in Genesis 8:22, God says that's what you're going to have post-flood. Heat, cold, summer, winter, and so on. And that's exactly what we're seeing. It's exactly what we're seeing.
And the cycles of that, I think the big picture, I know that Leon refers to this and other meteorologists will refer to as the cycles.
Yeah, I'm going to get into that just, in fact, right now. And lastly, are humans causing global warming? And that is the big question. Okay, I just said that yes, global warming is happening, that the temperature has gone up 1.2 degrees Fahrenheit, but that doesn't tell me why it's going up. So let's talk about that just for a second. And what I did, particularly in the notes, and there's a lot more information in the notes than what we're talking about this morning, I've separated that into 2 basic categories: natural causes and human causes. Okay? Let's talk about natural causes first. It's interesting that if you look at the temperatures on the earth since the flood, they're cyclic, and I think Leon has said that before. In fact, after the Ice Age, temperatures have fluctuated only a couple degrees from the Ice Age up until now. As an example, AD 900 to 1300 was considered a warm period. It was about 2 degrees warmer. Okay. Then you had the Little Ice Age, which ended around 1880. Well, from 1400 to 1880, the temperature dropped about 2 degrees. So prior to that, you had a 2-degree rise. After that, you had a 2 degrees lowering. And now you have about a 1.2 degree rise again. So it's easy to see when you look at the temperatures, particularly since the flood, they've been cyclic. They also have discovered, particularly now that we have satellites and our science is a lot better, an interesting term called total solar irradiance. Now, I thought I'd throw that in there just so I could see the deer in the headlights. Okay. And basically what that means, Perry, is they used to think that the rays, the ultraviolet rays from the sun were constant. And now they know that they're not by a long shot. And sunspots have a lot to do with that. In fact, it's interesting that if you look at, in fact, I wrote this down because I want to be accurate on this. If you look at a graphic representation of the Earth's temperatures versus sunspot cycles. So when you have a sunspot, you're going to have a momentary increase of heat for however long the sunspot lasts. And you've seen solar storms and what have you on the sun. Okay. If you look at a graphic representation of Earth temperatures versus sunspot cycles, it reveals that from about 1880 until 2008, the rise and fall of Earth temperatures almost exactly follow the rise and fall of sunspot cycles.
Wow.
So as the sun increases its heat, its ultraviolet radiation to the Earth, and by the way, what is the biggest reservoir of carbon dioxide on this planet?
Water?
Water. It's the oceans. Right. 2/3 of this Earth, almost 70% of this Earth is water. So as the sun's radiations come through our atmosphere and strike the Earth becomes warmer. And the oceans then release more carbon dioxide. Then, as the sun's radiation recedes, isn't quite as high, then the Earth starts to become cooler, and then you have less carbon dioxide. And by the way, did you know that carbon dioxide can be very, very beneficial?
Well, we all need it.
So do plants.
Yeah.
And plants create
carbon dioxide.
Oxygen out of carbon dioxide.
Right.
And what's interesting, if you do some research, you'll find that a lot of scientists are saying, you know, there could be a positive byproduct of carbon dioxide, because if plant life loves it, and I think Timinator would say in these hothouses, he increases carbon dioxide and the plants just bloom their heads off, you're going to have more parts of the Earth that would be habitable in reality. I mean, that's another subject. So, when you say natural causes, I think you can look at a lot of the rise and fall of temperatures on the Earth is directly attributable to the sun and the sun's radiation.
If the greatest reservoir of carbon dioxide is water,
the oceans,
and the ocean, and that causes those temperatures to go up and down, that creates the El Nino and the La Nina cycle. You know,
it can, Perry, but those are just short-term weather patterns. They're not long-term weather patterns. And something else I discovered, that since 1980, we've been doing very, very precise weather measurements with satellites. And when people say the Earth is warming, you have to ask the question, what part of the Earth is warming? Is it the surface, which is basically what they measured prior to 1980, when they started measuring it by satellites, because that's basically all they were capable of doing, unless they send a weather balloon up and they took a quick measurement. So when you measure on the Earth's surface, are you measuring from an urban environment, a city, which is going to be higher, or a rural environment, which is going to be lower? See the difference?
Yeah.
Now that we have satellites, we can measure actually the Earth's atmosphere. Basically is where we want to be looking at the temperatures.
Okay.
See?
We got about 2 minutes left.
Okay.
Are humans causing this?
Human causes. It's interesting. Carbon dioxide is constantly presented as a pollutant, and basically from the industrial age, which basically is being attacked. And three things basically releases carbon dioxide in the atmosphere from a human perspective: fossil fuels, cement production, and deforestation. However, how much of that really is causing an increase of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, particularly when it's a very, very, less than 5% minor greenhouse gas? If you conservatively figure 50% natural causes and 50% human causes, and that's, I'm being generous on that.
Yeah.
Remember I said that the Earth has warmed by 1.2 degrees Fahrenheit, correct? That means if you want to assume the worst case scenario, humans have caused a 0.6 degree Fahrenheit increase. Is that noteworthy? Far from it. Far from it.
All right, let me just say to all of you, this was a quick review of this problem.
Yeah, the notes are a lot more definitive.
By far more detailed.
Yeah.
If you'd like a copy of John's research, you can come by here at the Dove and pick them up.
Do we have 15 more seconds?
Yeah.
Okay. I think people should be aware of the fact, because you will never see this in the media, that the Global Warming Petition Project, and you can go on the internet and just type in Global Warming Petition Project, has signed over 31,000 American scientists, over 9,000 with PhDs, and this is what they've signed. There is no convincing scientific evidence that human release of carbon dioxide, methane, or other greenhouse gases is causing or will, in the foreseeable future, cause catastrophic heating of the Earth's atmosphere and disruption of the Earth's climate. Moreover,
where can they find that? We're out of time. Where can they find that?
Okay, Global Warming Petition Project.
All right, and you can come by here at the Dove and get a copy of the notes. We'll make them available to you. Thank you, John, and stick around Tuesday. We're going to do the flood and Noah after the movie review coming up next week.